This moment was truly gut-wrenching, and a lot of fans appreciated the finality of that moment because, simply put, we have not seen Vader this vulnerable many times. If we're talking comics, so the 2015 comic series is after A New Hope. This is when we see a very calculated and stoic Darth Vader. He is not this rampaging monster that we see in the Kenobi show and in other series. More specifically, what I'm talking about is, if you read the 2017 comics, that's where Vader is at his most vulnerable because he is a year into this thing and he is still figuring things out. He does not know yet where does he belong in this Sith world. In that comic series, we see Vader constantly without his mask or having his armor completely destroyed by other surviving Jedi, sometimes arbitrarily through battles. But today we're talking about on screen, either movies or series. So when I compare this moment in the finale, I mostly compare it to two things. One, in Return of the Jedi, when Luke removes his helmet, and the other one, of course, in Rebels in Season 2, where Ahsoka battles Darth Vader and does a similar thing to Vader, cuts his helmet in half, and he is exposed, therefore talking to Ahsoka in this mishmash of a voice, half this, half man, half machine voice, basically. If we understood anything from this finale, is that there is still definitely a lot of conflict within Darth Vader. And during those last moments where it was apparent that Obi-Wan defeated Vader again, Vader just couldn't come to grips with it. Obi-Wan constantly was searching out for Anakin, who is deep inside into this sick persona of Vader. Even Vader knows that he is not this evil person, but it's similar to what dual personalities are. In episodes prior, Vader was having flashbacks of him as Anakin, trying to find himself as a Jedi, sparring with Obi-Wan, and not getting his way either. So you could kind of see that there is a difference between Anakin and Vader, but those flashbacks showed us that not really. Either if you're Vader or Anakin, both of these people loved competition and they loved being first. This is what got their blood boiling, is them trying to achieve supremacy by any means necessary, even if it means going full on and losing ultimately. Why it is important that the glitched out vocoder or voice changer was going in between Vader's voice, James Earl Jones' voice, and Anakin's voice is kind of showcasing to Obi-Wan more specifically that his friend is really dead. At this point, 10 years into Order 66, we would love to think that there is an Anakin in there, but you have to understand that Obi-Wan would know that the best. He would feel the light within Vader, he would feel that conflict, and he would pull Anakin from the darkness. But once Obi-Wan says, then my friend is truly dead, he accepts this. This is what I think the voice changer was trying to convey, is that it doesn't matter if Vader's voice came out or Anakin's, at this point in time, they are one and the same because they are just consumed with anger. That's why when Vader is speaking to Obi-Wan and we think it's Anakin, but instead what Vader says is, "You did not kill Anakin Skywalker, I did." This would of course tell you that Vader is speaking at this moment, not Anakin, since there is no Anakin to come out. He is being overshadowed by Vader, who says that I killed Anakin Skywalker. However, this is why I mentioned those two other battles. Years after this, we get to the Rebel series, and this is when you see Vader starting to be more tame. In the Rebel series, we did not get to see this crazy maniacal Vader. He battled the Rebels, and he was a ruthless commander still. However, his biggest moments were basically him battling Kanan and Ezra, and of course the ending with Ahsoka on Malachor. The reason I'm mentioning the duel with Ahsoka and comparing it to the Obi-Wan one we just saw is there's a major difference, guys, and that is that Ahsoka was able to pull Anakin if it was just for a split second. Both Vader in Obi-Wan and Vader in Rebels spoke in both voices. In this finale, we saw the voice overlapping between Vader and Anakin. In the Rebel series, we hear two voices in parallel, both Vader and Anakin speaking to Ahsoka.
Ahsoka.
The difference, of course, is in the Obi-Wan series, Anakin did not seem to appear for a second. That inner light, I mean. So even when Anakin's face was exposed and the voice was being overlapped, he still had that anger in him, and he did not show any mercy towards Obi-Wan or any compassion for that matter. In the Ahsoka duel, however, if you remember, he called onto Ahsoka in Anakin's tone. His eyes were softened by that point. It was not until Ahsoka tried to do the same thing with Anakin, tried to pull him out, that the dark side of Vader took over again and tried to kill Ahsoka. So we see this evolution between these two characters, the battle between Anakin and Vader. In the Obi-Wan series, there's not even a debate. Anakin is buried deep inside, and Vader's darkness overflows, so much so that he did not have a compassionate moment at all in that series. With Ahsoka, there was a glimmer of hope. You could see it when he called on to Ahsoka to stop, but then reverted back immediately. By the ending of Return of the Jedi, when everything is said and done, and Luke had succeeded redeeming his father, once he takes off Anakin's helmet, Anakin is fully back. Vader is dead. Anakin, albeit injured, speaks in this softly, well-mannered voice, tells Luke to tell his sister that he was right, that there was still good in his father, and that he made peace in the end. This time, if you look at that clip, there is no Vader voice because his helmet is completely removed, and even though his voice changer is right there, Vader has been completely deactivated. I'm talking symbolically, of course, that Vader is officially dead, and this was Anakin speaking to his son Luke, telling him that he has succeeded in bringing him back to the light. So if you think about it, what I just explained is the evolution of going from Vader to Anakin. In the Obi-Wan series, there was no Anakin. In the Ahsoka battle, there was a hint of Anakin, and from that point on, I think that Vader had more and more conflict within him, and by the time of Return of the Jedi, he was completely back, and Vader was just gone. This is truly the arc of Anakin Skywalker. He started as Anakin, ended the prequels as Vader, started the original trilogy as Vader, and then ended up being Anakin again, which is, I think, a perfect little poetry. It rhymes, of course. This is the mantra that George lived by, and that's why the Kenobi series might have been conflicting for some, but if you look closely, they did explain a lot of Vader's journey and how he saw himself during this time 10 years after Order 66. But of course, I would love to know, what did you think about Vader's overlapping voice and the dichotomy between Anakin and Vader? Leave all your thoughts down below in the comments. Now you can have an awesome day, boys and gals. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.